Hello, my sewing friends. My name is Jen. This is my sewing room, and I'm really glad you're here. Welcome. Today is Friday Sews. Hey, it's the weekend, so time to talk about sewing for the weekend and also life in general. I made two things last weekend, and so I want to tell you about those and also some stuff that's going on this weekend, just in general. I made Butterick 6731. That's what I'm wearing. Oh yes. I also made New Look 6083, little white skirt, which I'm not wearing actually. I'm wearing shorts, but let me tell you about this top. This is pretty easy. I wonder if they rate these things. Do they rate them? No, it says 10 pieces. And so you've got a front and a back and two sleeves and two sleeve bands and two ties. First, let me say that if you have fabric that is printed on one side and not on the other, kind of like this knit that's like that on the other side, then you'll want to cut probably 4 ties rather than just 2. And that's because you're going to see the wrong side of the fabric. Now on mine, it's a sheer enough crinkle crepe that I used that it didn't matter. But yeah, you might want to take that into consideration because the pattern tells you to only cut 2 and then to do a narrow hem on the edge. I did that even though I was going to do a rolled hem, could not get the tension just right on my serger. And then I was going to use the rolled hem foot on my machine, you know. I even watched a tutorial. I thought, this can't be that hard. Why do I always think it's that hard? Because it's that hard. Boy, threw that right out the window. I thought, why do I even have this presser foot? Someday I will do a rolled hem, but not this time. So that's the ties. I thought the ties were sewn into like a princess seam or even the side seams because that's kind of how it looks on the pattern. But it's just kind of like a fisheye dart or a tuck or a pleat. I don't know. It's just 2 lines and you bring them together and you gather the ties and you put those in between and then you just sew up the tuck, I guess you'd call it, with the tie inserted in there. So that's how you do it. And I like it really well. I think it gives you a little bit of definition, but not too much. I mean, you can pull it as tight as you want, but you don't have to pull it very tight to kind of get that gathered look. It does have fisheye darts in the back, gathered sleeve. The shoulder line is pulled a little forward. So if you are a person like me who assumes that the top of the sleeve is at the shoulder seam, yeah, not this time. And I made that mistake. I kept thinking, why am I gathering this? And I've got a lot on one side and a little bit on the other. Well, that was because I was not marking. I marked it all effective, you know, the right way, but it just didn't look right to me. And so once I figured that out, it was fine. So gathers here, gathers down here. I thought this might be a little bit too big or too small, the sleeve band, but it's fine. And I did the most beautiful stitching in the ditch this time on the outside, and man, I caught that inside just perfectly. You know, sometimes it works, and it is a beautiful thing. The one thing I changed on this pattern, which I didn't realize when I got the pattern, or even when I got most of the way into the pattern, then it said, now for the invisible zip, this is supposed to have an invisible zip up the side seam, and I thought, what? When did this have an invisible zip? Well, I didn't really want to go to the trouble to put an invisible zip in, so what I did was baste it up the side, went and tried it on. I thought, I don't need no invisible zipper, so I did not put that in. So be aware that if you do get the pattern, it will call for that, and if you need to put that in, you should, depending on the fabric you use, but I just said, no, I can easily pull this over my head, so I'm not going to worry about it. I did do the facing. I don't think this really lends itself, this fabric didn't lend itself to any other kind of a finish on the neckline, so that was all good. And that was Butterick 6731. The other thing I did was a New Look 6083. This was a little white skirt, and it did give me a little bit of trouble. mainly because I did some things that just didn't look right to me in the end. It had been a while since I put in a fly front zipper, so I did what the instructions said, but it just came out all cockeyed. So I went back in and I found Professor Pincushion's tutorial on that, which is an excellent one. I'll link it below. It's amazing. If you want to do it right, she shows you just how to do it. And so I made notes on my instruction sheet, which was really smart. And I went back in and I did it again. I mean, I worked on it all day Sunday, and then Sunday night I spent all day taking it apart. Not just the fly front zipper, but also the waistband. So put the waistband back on, but because I had already put it together, and it's sewn in 3 pieces, but it's actually 6 pieces because it's not cut, each piece isn't cut in one piece. It's a shaped waistband. And so you cut the piece and then you cut the facing. And I wanted to enclose the inside edge of the facing with bias tape, because I thought that's going to give it a really nice finish. And it did. And because I had already put it together and done it once and not liked it, I thought this looks terrible. So I had taken it all apart. So I finished that edge before I put it back on, and that made it a lot easier. I don't know if I would do that again if I were sewing it for the first time, but that's what I did. I also finished the inside edges of the fly front with that double fold bias tape, and the finish on the inside looks really good. So, I mean, this is not that hard. It's, you know, a little skirt with pockets. There are a lot of indie patterns that are like this. You know, they're all pretty straightforward. I did make a 16, or I cut a 16, but I ended up taking quite a bit off the side seams, which surprised me because I thought it was going to be fine. They don't give you a finished waist measurement on the pattern. They give you a finished hip measurement. And to be honest, this skirt flares out a little bit down from the pockets, and I wasn't sure if that was going to suit me. So I thought, well, I'll wash it once because it's a fairly heavy denim, and I'll wash it once and see if it softens up and has a little more movement. If not, then I'll probably go back in and just, you know, kind of taper that side seam in a little bit so it doesn't flare out quite so much. So that was the sewing for last weekend. This weekend, I am not sewing, and the reason is that I am in North Carolina right now. My youngest daughter just got kind of sick. I don't think she has COVID. We don't know quite yet, but at least while I'm standing here, we don't know. I don't think she has it, but she's been tested, and she was just feeling bad and needing her mom. Sometimes you just need your mom. You really do. In your 20s when you're still figuring out how to be an adult. So much sewing right now. I do have this top on the table, which is a call $79.75. It's the one that has the twist, and everybody has trouble with it because if you use, again, a fabric that is printed only on one side, the other side of the fabric shows. And I really like this pattern, so I am cutting a lining for the bottom part of the top, just to kind of, you know, make it so that you don't see the back side of the fabric. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'm also about to cut out Simplicity 8046, which is a pattern for knits, and I'm going to use this blue knit, which has a bit of a texture and a stripe. And so I think this is going to work well with a stripe. I think yeah, it's shown in a stripe. I'm not going to bubble the hem. I'm just going to leave it like it is. But yeah, I think that'll go together actually pretty quickly. I like the pockets. The pockets remind me of the Celeste dress from Itch to Stitch, which I recently made. So that's my weekend. Let me know what you're up to this weekend. Are you doing any sewing? Are you doing any crafting? What are you up to? I loved hearing from you last weekend. It was so great to hear, you know, I'm making a quilt. The grandkids are coming. I'm making clothes for them. You know, I'm sewing this. I'm finishing that. No sewing. I cleaned up my sewing room, or I did all this gardening. One lady, I can't remember her name, she said she got to landscape her yard with a bobcat. And a bobcat is like a little, gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a little tractor with a shovel on the front, but it's really small, like the size of a golf cart. And I thought, oh man, you get to drive a bobcat all weekend? That is so great. I would landscape my yard if it meant I got to drive a bobcat. So, you know, I loved hearing all of that. So tell me more. Let's chat some more about what you're up to this weekend. And I guess that's about it for now for me. So I will see you next time, and thanks for watching.